All right, so let's jump right in. Have you ever wondered why we're so intensely drawn to people we just can't have? It's this superhuman and honestly often really confusing experience. Today, we're digging into the psychology of unavailable love. Let's get into it. Okay, to really get this, let's start with a metaphor that just hits the nail on the head. Picture this. You really want strawberry ice cream. I mean, you're craving it, but something about it feels a little off, maybe a little too risky for today. So what do? You just go for the familiar, safe vanilla. You know, the same thing you had yesterday. And that simple choice, it explains so much about the people we find ourselves drawn to. So, right there, that's our first big idea. We're calling it the ice cream paradox. It's this really weird human tendency to pick the familiar option even when we know it's not what we really want, and it's probably going to be less satisfying. Which leads us to the big question, right? The one I think a lot of us have probably asked ourselves in a quiet moment. Why? Why do we sometimes consciously choose a love that we know deep down is just gonna lead to disappointment? Well, here's a really interesting way to think about it. The source for this explainer reframes this whole thing. It says this attraction isn't some kind of flaw or mistake. No, it's actually your soul trying to satisfy that deep need for connection, but doing it at a really low risk. It's a strategy, a protective one. And this is where it gets kinda wild. The logic goes like this. Your mind has already done the math. It's already decided, hey, this is impossible. And that certainty, the certainty that it's gonna fail, that's what actually loosens the heart. It's freeing. Suddenly there's no pressure, no hope, no fear of it actually working out, which might be the scariest part of all. So this all builds into this strange kind of emotional safety net, which brings us to our next section, the safety of sadness. Okay, check this out. This comparison really breaks down the subconscious math that's happening in our heads. On one side, you've got available love. That's high risk, totally unpredictable, but it comes with real, true hope. Then you have unavailable love. And look, it's low risk. Why? Precisely because the disappointment is a sure thing. It's a fantasy, yeah, but it's a safe one. And that's the whole point, you see? The heartbreak isn't some surprise plot twist. When you love someone who's unavailable, you're basically crushed from the start. You're almost asking for it, embracing it, because, hey, it's what you've always known. It's familiar. And this leads us even deeper, to another layer of the psychology behind this whole thing. It all comes down to a really powerful and usually unconscious drive, the need for control. So how does this whole fantasy of control thing even work? Well, first off, because the relationship is impossible, it can't actually touch you in the real world. It's safe. That means you have total control over the story in your head. You direct the whole thing. And here's the kicker. This is a kind of control that, for a lot of us, our inner child never ever had. And that's exactly why it's so powerful. I mean, this quote just says it all, doesn't it? It's this core belief that it's actually better to have full control over a situation you know is going to be sad than to only have half control over one that might actually be happy. That unpredictability is just too much to handle. And you know what? This idea is ancient. We're talking Roman philosopher Seneca ancient. He said that when you anticipate trouble coming, you basically take away its power. It can't surprise you. By bracing for disappointment, you strip it of its sting. It's like you've outsmarted fate, even if it means you had to create your own sadness to do it. Okay, so this is where it all comes to a head. We've reached the point where we kind of have to confront a pretty difficult truth about what this behavior is really about. It's time to talk about vulnerability versus cowardice. And this comparison is so powerful. It shows us two very different kinds of vulnerability. First, there's this false vulnerability. It's that feeling of, oh, I'll love you with everything I have, as long as you stay way over there. But then there's true vulnerability. And that's loving someone who's close, someone who's actually available. And that means you have to admit you have zero control. Absolutely not. And this is where the source just doesn't hold back. It takes this whole protective pattern, this safe, distant performance of love, and it gives it a new name. It says, that's not vulnerability. It's cowardice. Now, that's a tough word to hear, but it's so important to approach this with compassion, not judgment. We have to have some self-compassion for that inner child part of us, The part that's just terrified of unpredictability. This whole thing, it's not a character flaw. It's a defense mechanism, a shield built out of old fears.
So we don't end with some easy answer. We end with a question to really think about. If we know this is just a defense, just a suit of armor we built to keep us safe, then the real challenge is this. How do we find the courage to face uncertainty? How do we finally choose the strawberry ice cream?